Welcome, it's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined today by Mike Soubirous. He is a member of the Riverside City Council, and that council took a pretty bold step. A step that some would say is a bit risky. I have said on the air before that I support full pay for people who represent us on city councils. The city council recently voted to increase its pay by 5%.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. You were in the majority. It was a 5-1 vote, so it was not close. What made you decide to vote in favor of a 5% increase from about $39,000 to about $41,000?
You know, I looked at the facts of the council not having a raise in about 8 years.
Right, since 2007, that's
exactly.
accurate.
And they had also taken a reduction to show leadership with the rest of the staff when some of them took reductions or were asked to give up some different benefits. So in reality, you know, it's been quite a long time since they've had any type of increase, and our charter only allows for a 5% at the most increase as it is, not that they wanted more. But you know, when you look at the number of how much the dollar amount is per month, actually, it's pretty insignificant.
Now, you come at this issue in a very unique position. When you ran for office in a special election a couple of years ago to fill the seat of now mayor, were you running for Rusty Bailey's seat?
Yes.
Yeah, for now Mayor Rusty Bailey. You pledged not to take any salary, and your rationale was you are a retired police officer with a pretty healthy pension. So talk to us about how refusing to take a salary informed your decision about bumping raises, giving a bump.
Exactly. Well, you know, I wanted to prove to the voters that I was, you know, a different kind of politician, so to speak, and that I was putting my money where my mouth was, or actually lack of money where the mouth was. And I wanted them to kind of like try me on. It's like, well, if you don't believe that I can do what I say that I'm going to do, I'm offering to do it, you know, without taking the pay. And I think it made people think, wow, is this guy for real? Can he really do this? Well, being that I've done that,
Let me ask you though, why shouldn't you take pay? I mean, look, it is a job.
Oh, yes.
You were a police officer. Part of your compensation as a police officer included a pension to which you paid into. Maybe you should have paid into more, but that's what your union negotiated.
Right, exactly.
And so I'm a little baffled why it was popular, prudent for you as I don't want to sound crass, but political calculation to agree not to take a salary. I mean, you're doing a job.
You know, I think it just seemed during the campaign cycle that people were kind of skeptical. And, you know, when I told them, hey, I'm there to bring their voice to City Hall, a lot of them said, well, we've heard that before. And I said, well, I want to prove that I really mean it. And for some reason, that seemed to resonate with the voters. And
your opponent, interestingly, also, she had retired from the LA County
Riverside County.
Oh, Riverside. So she was also in a similar position.
Yes.
She had opted to take the salary.
Yes.
Query whether that was the reason why you won, but be that as it may, here we are today. Okay, so you're in, do you want to say something?
Well, you know, being that I offered up at council meeting that being that I am the newest council member and I've seen what my peers are doing, my colleagues, you know, I felt that I was in a unique position that being that I'm not receiving a salary and in a sense do not have skin in the game. That, you know, I could kind of attest to why I think that they deserve the 5% increase.
So let's talk about you and your council members. Technically speaking, the Riverside City Council is a part-time position. The mayor is considered a full-time position. Are you working part-time, sir? Are your council members also, your fellow council members, working part-time?
Not only am I working above half-time, I'm working time and a half. I mean, it is a full-time job, and it's 7 days a week. And if you do this right, you're making yourself accessible to the people 7 days a week, phone calls, emails, going out to different events. And you know what, a dynamic that a lot of people don't think about is on this council job, you're up early to do certain events on some days, and you're very late on others. And in between, sometimes there's very little time that you can count on to go home, get something done, or to fix something, or whatever. It's like whatever falls in.
Riverside is a city of 300,000. It's not a city of 30,000.
317 and growing.
Exactly. And so it's a fairly significant city.
Yes, and we own our own utility.
Right. And fairly spread out. I mean, you do have your ward, your district, but you're still a council member for the entire city.
Absolutely.
And so you're interested in what's happening throughout your great city. So that begs the question, well, the council is now getting paid $41,000 a year.
Yes.
To many, that, you know, if you just said to someone, this person's making $41,000 a year. I mean, that would qualify you for subsidies, for
Yes,
the
absolutely.
Affordable Care Act.
If you didn't have retirement or something else, yes.
So even that arguably is too low.
Yes. And when council was asking to possibly look at the charter revision to show us as being full-time or part-time or whatever it is and to work on that issue, I don't think it was based on the pay amount. It was more just so that we're not relegated to, well, they're just part-time. And I think that has a bad connotation to the voters, is they maybe expect us to be only part-time. I don't know. My solution to that is don't label us part-time, don't label us full-time, say that we're just the council.
But here's the challenge, though. You know, we're fortunate that you do have a pension.
Yes.
So assuming you decide to take the pay after you're reelected, assuming you're reelected in June, you can live with your pension and this compensation.
Yes.
There are many people who don't have a pension from a prior position.
Yes.
There are many people who are not retired with 401ks. Whom do you expect to run for office in a city of this magnitude?
It very much limits who can.
If you're only being paid $41,000 a year.
Yes, it makes it very difficult to not either get somebody that's either retired or, you know, extraordinarily wealthy that can just do this. And I think years ago, I think this is what happened is, you know, we have an at-large mayor throughout the city that is designed to be the ceremonial head. That's his job, and to be the moderator at the meetings. And I think the way it was set up years ago is they figured that most of the council members would be business people. They'd be doing their business during the day, go to council meetings, but it's come so much more complex than that.
So much more.
And that mayor would be our representative at different functions. But in reality, we go to all these different functions as well. You know, each one of our wards is 45,000 plus people. That's the size of some cities. Right.
Now, I have said in debates that I've moderated on behalf of your city on this program that you get what you pay for. I don't mean to disparage. I think the Riverside City Council is actually filled with very capable individuals. And the fact that this provision came up with very little opposition does say a lot about the mood. But what about really evaluating compensation? And instead of paying the council $40,000 a year, paying them, $80,000 a year, like the mayor is paid, and paying the mayor even more than that. I mean, in Los Angeles City, admittedly a much larger city, I mean, they're making, you know, mid one figures. I mean,
and that's probably something that I think council needs to maybe discuss at different community meetings. I think that needs to be vetted to the public, and I think that there should be some dialogue. I mean, the people that place us in this position of trust, I think that we should in turn dialogue with them and get their input and find out exactly how they feel about the issue.
At the same time, what would you say to those that would argue that Riverside is really a city manager form of government, and city council members, they're not really running the city as in Los Angeles City, where there is much more direct input into the affairs?
I would say that that's a misinformation on their part or a misunderstanding, because our charter clearly says it's a city council hyphen city manager form of government, and it puts council first. And we hire and fire our city manager, our city clerk, and our city attorney. So it should be a council that is engaging as it's supposed to be. You know, maybe they haven't been, maybe they should be more. You know, that's something for us to all have dialogue and talk about and evaluate. But truly, the policymakers and the visionary and the people that expect our manager who executes what we want done to happen, I mean, that's the order of how it should go.
So do you expect, if you do have this conversation, and I bet you will, since you're running for re-election, you'll be walking about the 5% bump, about looking at pay overall?
Yes.
What do you expect to hear? What have you heard?
Well, I actually received 4 handwritten letters of people that supported the pay increase.
Fascinating.
Yes, and I received about 15 emails, you know, positive for that. I didn't receive any on the negative side. Did see a couple blog comments or Facebook comments that said they thought it, you know, they shouldn't get anything, or it ranged from different things. But the majority of the people were very supportive. Even people that normally would be very fiscally tight with money have said it's time.
Says a lot about the times. His name is Mike Soubirous. He is a member of the Riverside City Council. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thanks so much for watching Charter California Edition.